Mrs. Wortley, and I'm here today with my vermicomposter. So this video is for all of my fantastic grade 3 science students who have been learning about vermicomposting with me, but also anybody else who's learning about vermicomposting, because I myself have just learned about this as well. We had our special guest Kathy Nesbitt come into our school and teach us about how to put the composter together, and luckily I brought this composter home just before we broke up, before the March break. So I think let's start with taking, oh look, there's my kitten, there's Charlie. Let's take a look at it. Let's take the lid off and take a look at what's going on. So the first thing you're going to notice is how, the first thing that I notice about it every time I look at the vermicomposter is how completely level it is. It's almost like the worms have been doing their job leveling it all off. Secondly, you can see that I've been using the toothpicks that Kathy, oh there's the dog involved as well, that Kathy's recommended, and she suggested that we use these toothpicks to remind ourselves where we actually put the food in, so that when we're circulating it, we're not continuously putting it in the same area. So one thing that's really important, one thing that Kathy told us is adding just the right amount of food or compost is really, really important, because if we put too much in, it becomes anaerobic or smelly. So that's not good for us. We don't want a smelly compost in our living or learning environment, but it's bad for the worms as well. They can't deal with too much food. So also, Kathy reminded us that we really want to bury the food well. And so as you can see, here's an area, this is lettuce, and I put this in a week ago, and I didn't cover it very well. So I think there's action going on underneath this, the layer of soil, but this isn't great. So this is something that I need to work on. Another thing that we noticed, lifting up the lid, and I lift it up, once every couple of days just to check on the worms, but look at all these sprouts coming up. So these are, why do you think these sprouts have come up? Why have they started to grow? I think, oh, there's a dog again sampling them. No, Thompson. Yeah, these are growing because they're germinating. They're germinating from the compost that we're putting in there. So I might be putting in some apple cores, and these might be germinating from the apple cores. I can't remember actually what I put in this area, but it's some kind of compost, some kind of organic matter starting to cyclically live again, so starting to grow roots and sprouts. And I find it amazing because don't forget, this is completely dark. And one of the things that we were beginning to learn about when we were learning about soil is that plants need a few things to grow. They need a good soil, a good healthy soil that has all the nutrients in it. And it needs water, it needs air, they need air, but they also need light, like sunlight. But it's amazing to see that these sprouts have grown even without sunlight. Okay, so here, as I said, I put in some lettuce. Over here, and you can see, one of the things I put in is cabbage. So I haven't been doing a brilliant job in covering this over. So if Kathy were here, maybe I should send her this video. She'd probably say, Mrs. Wortley, can you do a little bit of a better job just covering over the food, the compost that you put in? Okay, so here I put in some compost as well. I'm gonna choose this area. So this area hasn't been fed in quite a while. So I'm gonna use my hands because I don't mind going in there. Like when I do, whoa, take a look at these worms. So one thing that I'm gonna get in contact with Kathy about is like, how much is too much? Like, are the worms gonna reproduce to a point where I need to add another tray? The tray is at the school. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get the tray in the next little while. Like what next? Those are my questions that I'm gonna put in an email and send to Kathy. But you can see there's our bottom layer. There's that layer of newspaper that we put down when we were creating this vermicomposter. So Kathy told us that we should be adding once a week about a handful of food. So there's my handful of food. My daughter Tess is making a soup with apples and carrots. So I'm just taking her leftovers, and these scraps would probably go in the green box or the garbage, but we're making valuable compost now. And here I am covering it up. So like I said, this I put in, you know what, I'm gonna actually add these I'm getting braver every day, touching the worms. They're not bothering me. Leah, if you're listening, I'm getting as brave as you are. I know you didn't love touching the worms to begin with, but you know, if you're doing it regularly, they're not, you start to realize that they're not so scary and they're not so gross. There's Gigi, my daughter. She's holding one of the red wigglers. And all I can tell you, kids, is that there are so many more than there were. And so this is my question. This is a question that I will ask Kathy and I'll get back to you. Is there going to be some issue with overpopulation? Like, am I going to have to remove some of this compost and either put it in my garden when it gets a little bit warmer or start a new tray? So I don't know, maybe I'll be able to go into the school in the next few weeks and get the other trays, but I do feel like we're going to come into a little bit of a population crisis unless we do something about it. Okay, so here it goes. It's hard to cover up the lettuce. I've posted my little toothpick. I am not going to add food. So today is Tuesday. I'm not going to add any more food to this composter until next Tuesday, and I'll probably do it in this area, and by then I really hope that these leaves have been munched. Here I'm covering them up, cover up all the areas that haven't been covered up. There, and then again when I open it up there'll be this miraculous leveling off, which I'm always so amazed about. And in a week I'll get back to you and give you another video, and I'll also get back to you with the answers to the questions about, you know, what next? When do we divide up this compost and either add some more soil or put it in a garden or add it to some pot plants? In the meantime, if there are any of you grade 3s who want to start researching this question, how do you know when to remove some of the worms? Go ahead and get back to me. It's G. Wortley at Simcoe County District School Board, scdsb.on.ca. If you have any answers to those questions, I'd love to hear from you. There you go. Let's put the lid back on, and I'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.